10 minutes late. I am really sorry. We have had some crazy plumbing problems here, and I'm nagging him to take care of it. I was trying to get into my cabina, and I'm locked out. So I don't even know why my keys aren't even working. So it's not been a good morning. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the afternoon goes smoothly. Hey, Brenda Lee, I'm glad your boyfriend is out of surgery. So Will Clem, Saturn, Jan, and my desk is moving around, and I don't quite understand why, because I just supposedly fixed it yet again. It's just been one of those days. I don't know about the rest of you, but I got up this morning and I saw what was going on with the whole KJ thing, and I was just like, damn, what is going on? There have been a ton of new papers apparently filed in the lawsuit. I saw people were sharing them. I read through a lot of them. Here's something new for me. I am not going to be covering KJ very much at all. Why? Because it's kind of like if you had chocolate ice cream with the occasional worm in it. It might be really good, but when you hit that worm, you're going to get grossed out. I'm kind of grossed out with everything to do with her. Her focus on SEX, her focus on SA, her focus on CP. Everything she does, hey, big man, everything she does is about those things. And I don't get it. I don't get why the focus is on those things unless something's maybe not right in there. I'm actually afraid for her today. After seeing the new paperwork and knowing that Todd, from talking to him, Todd is determined to shut her up. And he doesn't even care at this point how much money he has to spend. My take on all of this is that he is going to tie her up in court with red tape until she runs out of money and has to file for bankruptcy. That's really what I think is going to go on here. And I like Todd. I've talked to him a few times. He and I see eye to eye on a number of things. So let's just put it that way. I know he's talked a lot to Steve McRae. And I had heard yesterday through a little bird of source that there were 2 lawsuits coming before it was announced earlier today by Steve and them. 2 more lawsuits, and they are likely to be, hey, Small Town Jewel, hey, Tiny Dancer. Those 2 lawsuits are likely to be, I'm giving the projection now, Chase and his daughter, Lindsay. Oh, so we are going to wait and see. But that's it on Katie. I'm afraid for Katie right now on so many levels. She used to be my friend. I'm still kind of afraid for her. She's going to lose everything. And it didn't have to be like this. If she'd just stuck with her content on her child and that, it would have been okay. You watch Truthless video. There's so many videos out there covering these new papers and things that I just don't see any point in doing it myself. Big Mama. Yep, she is gonna crash and burn. And then nothing. Yep. And I'm sorry I mangled your name back there. My eyesight is still not the best after my stroke last year. So she's really gonna crash and burn. And I'm sorry to see that. Todd spoke about Katie on his podcast. Did you see? Yes, I listened to it. There was a lot of shade thrown. Todd always has some interesting names that he calls her. He doesn't like her, but I can hardly blame him because she's been saying some of these lies since back to Patheos. She was writing about them then. And you can't say those things. I mean, you can say, hey, this is my opinion, this is alleged. But the minute you start saying, hey, this is 100% true, you have crossed over into bad territory. I sure hope he succeeds in shutting her up on here. I feel sorry for V, but she's repeating her behavior, and she's going to be at fault. I'm sure. I feel pretty certain there's enough lawsuits on enough different subjects that's exactly what he is speaking out. I like Todd. I never thought I'd say that because I am not somebody that ever watched his show. The ads would come on for it, and I'd say, oh, that looks silly. He looks like just the silliest guy. Well, I've changed my opinion. I'm still not watching the show. I don't have that much hours in the day. And if I'm going to be watching something, It would better be something that I really enjoy, like Game of Thrones, or right now I'm watching The Gilded Age, that sort of thing. And the anti-slap is practically non-existent in Minnesota. It practically is, but I have to let you know, I looked up the Minnesota statutes for what a reporter is, what a reporter or journalist, and they pretty much just said anybody that collates information and gives it out in a news type fashion. So she's going to be able to claim that she's actually a reporter or a journalist in Minnesota. She's going to be able to make that claim. Now, whether or not that means she's covered by privilege, the same privilege that real journalists cover for, I don't know. It is a great show, is it not, Saturn? It's kind of weird because this is the first HBO show I've watched where there's not extreme cursing, extreme nudity, extreme sexuality. So it's kind of an odd one for me. So that's what I'm watching now. That's if I can get my Fire Stick to work right, because it's still kind of screwed up too. Okay, so this is really what I wanted to talk about today. Oh, Silver Goddess, you love it too, and everybody. So one of the things about leaving a problematic, high-demand religious organization is that all those people that you think are your friends are not going to be your friends after you leave. And that, to me, was the biggest shock. And I know for a lot of people, that's the biggest shock, because you have your friends, you have your support group, and you expect that they're going to be with you on these things. It's kind of like a donut. You have all your friends in your support group when you're going through it, when you're part of the group. You leave, and then this happens. It's a big void where you don't have friends. And then years later, when the other side, when you're already healed up from your spiritual abuse mostly, some of those same people are going to try to refriend you. So it is donut-like. I want to talk about the center of the donut more than anything else, and maybe a little bit of the post. You lost a group of over 40 people, Amy. It was the same for me. I lost about that number, maybe a few more. It was pretty shocking because I left. I tried to leave in a good manner. I asked for release from the pastor. I got released by one of the other pastors that was not a pastor of our church. And I told him he was asking. I'm leaving because the Bible says that our husband's supposed to be the spiritual head, so I'm following him. Which was not 100% true. It was just one of many reasons I came up with that to satisfy the people who were asking the questions. Yes, they were not your friends. They are not your real friends. That's what I want to say about the people on this side of the donut. Who you think are your friends, they're your support group. You've cried on their shoulders. They've cried on your shoulders. They are not your friends. They're your friends as long as you are drinking the same brand of Kool-Aid they are. The minute you start to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe this is all ridiculous codswallop. The minute you say that, you're going right here in the center where there's nobody. Like I said, I left, and I talked to my friends before I left and say, hey, I'm leaving because XYZ, I have to leave. And they said, oh, we'll be your friends forever. Do you know how many people I have that are actual friends that I had when I left there? One person. The only thing we did the right way was not trash and gossip. So the door is open if they ever want to talk to us. Amy, I didn't trash or gossip either. I just left. And I tried to leave under good circumstances. I didn't trash anybody. I didn't gossip. But I got 2 years of the most ridiculous hate for it. Things like I called up somebody that I thought was a real close friend, whose daughter I had taken all over the place with us. And I called, her son answered the phone and said, yeah, I can't put mom on. Mom says she can't talk to you because you're apostate now, because you were a non-believer. So the rumor went around that when I left, by going to the Methodist church, just by the dint of going to the Methodist church, I suddenly lost my salvation. Suddenly salvation free. And this was repeated again and again and again for me. And when I would run into people I knew in town, and it was a small southern town, oh, Jezebel. Yeah, I was called that too. It was one of two things happened. There were some people that just out and out snubbed me and acted like I didn't even exist, yet carried tales back to the group about I was this, that, and the other. I've told the tale of the time I had the allergic reaction to some food. My lips swelled up. I put on my little lippies before I went to town to go to the post office. And I saw somebody there that snubbed me. And it turned out they went back and told the group that I had had lip injections. They are most dicks and weirdos. You're right. So it was that sort of thing that I experienced afterwards. And it was really hard because a lot of these people I'd spent so much time with, I'd shared so many things with them. Our children were running in and out of each other's houses. At least two of the women I'd taken their children on international trips. That's how close we were. And took custody of their kids for times while we were on these mission fields. So I lost all of them but one. And with her, I can only take her in little doses because while she's not going to that church anymore, she's still inhabiting the sphere that I call fundagelical. She has some ideas that are fundamentalist, some that are evangelical. And we have to agree to disagree on a couple of things. And she does sometimes trigger me. So I had to actually turn her to don't show me her posts on Facebook during the election because it was just too much. The worst was when the pastor tried to drag my kids, 16 years old, into it. Pastor tried to trash us, and I still have every email, me going after him. Do not ever mess with my kids. Amy, you got that right. You wouldn't experience that in your Presbyterian church because you've got a regional board, a state board, a national board, an international board for that church. You just would not. That's more mainstream. I always tell people go to more mainstream churches if you want to keep your faith. It's a safer place in a lot of ways. I'm not saying it's 100% safe because these things happen in a lot of these places, but it's definitely safer. So we had people about 2 to 3 years after we left, our old church completely crashed. And what I mean, it crashed hard. People came out in droves. It boiled down to those of us that had gone to the Toronto Airport Christian Fellowship and those that said, no, this is how we've always done it. This is how we'll keep doing it. The always done it are the ones that kept the church, and it was like 40 people tops at one point. Everybody else got out, and I started seeing them in the Methodist church. They would come in. And it was a struggle for me because a lot of them had been so badly hurt. They were in spiritual abuse territory at that point. They were where I had been 3 or 4 years before. And I had to put my own feelings aside to help them get past it. Now, very few of them actually stayed in the Methodist church. A lot of them moved on elsewhere, some of them to the same kind of Kool-Aid. Silver Goddess, I am trying. Trauma is a real thing. It's only gotten to where recently where I could talk about these things. I'm writing a book. I'm writing about my experiences. That has been difficult, even though I'm trying to do it in a more comical way so that I can actually survive it. Because I'm one of those people where comedy, I like to laugh. I like the comedic in life. So that's the only way I can do this. So back to this hole in my one friend, my lone friend. We had people that were coming to the Methodist church to get healed and go on. And there was a lot of that went on. There are several that stayed. But on the outer rim of the stupid donut, I have had people that, oh, Nikki, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. I've had people in the outer rim that are now approaching me, trying to use me in one shape or way or another. I had one of the people that had told me when I left that I was demonic, that would not talk to me. Told her kid to tell me to talk to her. Tell me that I wasn't welcome to call anymore. The hole is hell. You're right. It really is. I know they pray for us to come out our senses because they think we are cold or in and out, but it's not going to happen. Jackie, that is so true. So the people in the outer rim, the one couple, like I said, the woman had told me she couldn't talk to me anymore. And I used to run to her at the gym all the time. So it was really awkward. She wouldn't even make eye contact with me. Hey, just saying. So now she's trying to ask me, well, this started right before the pandemic, about 6 months before the pandemic. She's been emailing me and emailing my husband. Her husband's been emailing him. They friended my husband on Facebook. They tried to friend me on Facebook, and I was kind of like, nope. They want to move to Costa Rica. Why? Because they think that America is way too liberal, and just they had a laundry list of political things. I don't want to see that. I've been carefully discouraging them from it because I know it wouldn't be a suitable place for them. Yeah, so it would not be good for them because this place, you have two types of Americans here. You have liberals who are surfers and yoga heads and various things. And then you have your Trumpers that are here that are just over the top ridiculous, but they usually only go to certain churches here and associate with each other. So it would be a horrible fit for her here. I can tell for a lot of reasons why it would be a bad fit for her. So I've been saying, well, you're anti-vax and they require everybody to be vaccinated here. You're anti-vax and they're going to require you to have the COVID vaccination even. And when they started talking about going after COVID had slacked off some, I said, well, you're going to have to buy that insurance if you're not vaccinated. It's about $1,000 a head to buy the health insurance if you're not vaccinated to visit here. They have, yeah, they're really good, Silver Goddess. So they've kind of backed off on that for now. They're not anymore. So I'm hoping that realizing that what they're looking for is not available here, even though the crazy guys at Homeschool Legal Defense the association, are still saying that there are no rules against homeschooling and or vaccinations here. That's not so. You can't homeschool here. You can't be vaccine free. That's just the reality of it, especially during a pandemic. Ryan Hill, I meant to say hi to you earlier. I'm saying hi again. And she's not the only one. I've run into an interesting circumstance that I don't know how I'm gonna Java man, that would be fun. The no pressure churches are much easier. If I go through that again here, it'll go back to the Catholic Church. Jackie, I hear you on that. We're going right now to a non-denominational, but it's a kind of do as you please thing, and they haven't been preaching anything too terribly toxic from the pulpit yet. Now I've heard some crazy things. You don't have a team, you have an ass clown. Yes, I love Todd Chrisley for that. I will always love him for saying that. That was one of the funniest and truest statements in the whole KJ thing that Todd Chrisley said. So on the outside of the donut that's happened this week with me is I got banned from Facebook. It was initially supposed to be for 48 hours. They've added 24 hours after I said, no, I don't agree with my banning because we were all joking around about a Freddie Mercury coffee tumbler. And I said I would have to cut me a bish, a bish, if somebody tried to take that thing out of my hands. If somebody tried to take that thing out of my hands, I would not take it well. So because I was joking with other people who were joking in a garage sale list, I initially got banned for 48 hours. I said, hey, no, I don't agree with that. It was a joke. bish is not even a curse word. It's just something comical to say. And I said I didn't agree. They added 24 more hours. I forgot and started clicking on something there earlier, and they added 2 more hours. So by the time this is over, I will have had a 74-hour timeout for making a joke, a dumb joke. Yes, Tiny Dancer. Effing Facebook. I'm nervous about going to church anywhere. Still hurt about being alone with stroke patient husband. Amy, that's awful. It is a sad feeling, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay in that place. Not at all. You can, and it's okay. We're all on journeys. We're all at different levels. For a long time, just saying the word church gave me the willies, and I wanted to run away. So the thing that happened with the band is my husband put up a sign on Facebook, and the main reason I even have Facebook is family and friends, real life friends, family. And my husband put up a sign that said, "Hey, Suzanne's been banned for a few days because of this, and she'll come back as soon as her suspension is over." Well, it was kind of funny when he put that up. I expected a couple of my friends to say something, particularly ones I know who've also been banned for stupid stuff. But the extreme conservatives started fighting with extreme liberals in the comments. That was interesting to watch and not participate in. I was watching that and laughing. Well, 2 old church members have raised their heads, one of which is complaining that I unfriended her and blocked her. And she's asking my husband why I unfriended her and blocked her. And I am trying to decide exactly how I'm going to talk to her after this, because I have no intention of friending her again and allowing her on my timeline. I'm tempted to put, "Do you really want to have this conversation in a public thread?" And she's made a couple of comments to my husband about, "Suzanne must have been listening to rumors." Let me tell you why I unfriended this woman. And this is what I mean by you have to take care of yourself. If something triggers you, you click off of that thing and you move on. Breathe in, breathe out, move on. That's a Jimmy Buffett song that I love that was actually about Hurricane Katrina, which was a really hard time in my life, even though I was living in Northern Virginia. My entire family was in harm's way, and a number of them lost homes. My aunt's house was 2 blocks from where the levee blew out on the 13th Street Canal. Have boundaries and respect your own boundaries. Do not allow others to overstep them. Exactly. So this woman, I've written about her in my book pretty extensively because she was very close friends with this other gal I like to call Shrimpleton. Shrimpleton and her were always jumping up and down, saying they were playing with angels. "Oh, I see an angel here. I see an angel here. I'm playing patty cake with them," or just stupid stuff. And I didn't even remember any of this. I didn't remember this because I was so traumatized by hosting home Bible study on Wednesday nights. I'd forgotten they'd done that at home Bible study until my husband said something about it. And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I explained in my book why home Bible study was a sucky experience and why every Wednesday afternoon I would start getting amped up and I would start repeating all the scriptures about not fearing for anything and throwing all your cares on the Lord. I would start reciting that crap like crazy, like it was some kind of 10 minutes to Wapner kind of meditation. And so this woman was very badly behaved in all of those home groups. And every time I had anything to do with her, she was very badly behaved. She was jumping up and down, playing with angels. She was just really acting crazy. But the main reason I blocked her is she got into a fight on Twitter with my one friend from the donut hole, who is still my friend, who I love dearly. Okay. She got into a horrible fight with her. Why? Hang on to your underwear. She slept with Shrimpleton's husband. She had an affair with Shrimpleton's husband while complaining about her ex-husband having cheated on her. Jaw drop. No, she wasn't even on Adderall that I know of, Java Man. She's drinking that Jesus juice really hard. Yeah, so wow. So she's having this affair. And my dear sweet friend I love so much said to her, "Hey now, you shouldn't be having an affair. Call yourself a Christian." So she started doing like everybody else at my church had had affairs. And I said in my book that I think as many as 15% were actively having affairs. And they were saying, well, their marriage was busted. They were going to get a divorce. They had been splitting up back and forth. And Jesus doesn't want us to be alone and blah, blah, blah. Well, the cheating husband got no pushback whatsoever because of the penis possessor in the relationship. He got no pushback. I don't even know if the pastor said, "Hey, don't do that." So my friend and others at the church tried to talk to this lady and say, "Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. How can you sleep with your best friend's husband?" Yeah, how can you sleep with your best friend's husband? And she was like, "Jesus approves, blah, blah, blah. It's not a sin, and it's not a sin." So there was this huge rupture between my lone friend and this woman. And I was like, nope, click. I unfriended her, I blocked her. She was triggering me anyway with a lot of stuff she was saying and doing. Her personal behavior was pretty bad. I robbed the bank because Jesus approved. Tiny dancer, I don't doubt that somebody has floated that. I don't doubt at all because my experience with my old church is that in that type of environment where everybody is a law unto themselves, they come up with some really crazy, crazy justifications for everything. Infidelity was the craziest one I saw, though. She sounds like she needs a refresher on the Ten Commandments. Absolutely. I had a whole church that backed my husband's affair. He had the big checkbook. Green worm, that happens too, and that's sad. That is really sad that people will do that. And most of the time I've seen them back the husband over the wife every day of the week. And it's sick. Like I said, they only got on to this lady. They didn't get on to her partner in infidelity. And Shrimpleton left the church. I don't know whatever happened to Shrimpleton. I've tried to look her up a bunch of times. I can't find her anywhere. So she's disappeared. Never underestimate the ability of humans to rationalize anything. Yes, Java Man. And to hear them rationalizing with the Bible when they're doing stuff the Bible calls sin, it's pretty interesting. So I'm thinking that my response to her is going to have to be, do you really want to have this conversation on this thread in public in front of everybody else? Because if you do, I have no problems shouting out why I banned you and blocked you. No problems whatsoever. That's why I don't like practice organized religion. Yeah, you don't practice it. I can understand that. It's been 7 years and it's still hurting. Green worm, I don't know that the pain ever 100% goes away. I have been out almost 16 years at this point. I've been out almost as long as I was actually a part of the organization. And there are still moments where it comes up and bites me in the rear end. And I am triggered, particularly when I discover people lying to me. I flip out when that happens. And if somebody tries to tell me that I just need Jesus to heal me, that's another one of those big triggers. I can take people saying, oh, you need yoga and essential oils and all these other things to heal yourself. I can take that without too much grumbling about my Macel. But when I start being told it's demonic or that I need more prayer, or I need X, Y, and Z, I'm kind of like, no, and not happy at all. And I've had a ton of people that were my friends in this phase try to friend me on Facebook now that we're all over here. And there are very few of them that I've accepted the friend request. And I think I'm going to keep it that way because I talk about hard things on NLQ. At least I used to. Chicken soup for the soul. Oh, man. That deliverance ministry is some BS, Greenworm. And I'm going to talk just a tiny, tiny bit about that. Deliverance ministry was something that our church got involved in the last 4 or 5 years that I was going there. And it was awful. I saw, and there were so many different kinds, and everybody was selling their brand of deliverance ministry. The worst Thanksgiving of my life occurred because of deliverance ministry. I did not know that my husband had been talking to those deliverance ministry people. No, I wish I had. It been amusing at least. In North Carolina, or was it South Carolina? I got to think about that for a minute. Where exactly is Wilmington, North Carolina? It took place in Wilmington. Okay, with a big church there that has changed their name 3 or 4 times. They now change the name of their deliverance ministry a bunch of times too after they've been sued, I understand. My husband dropped the bomb on me the night before, but before Thanksgiving. Senior moment. So they had set up for us to undergo deliverance ministry the Saturday and Sunday after Thanksgiving in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we were living up in Northern Virginia. So you can imagine that was quite a drive. We made the drive. I was very upset because that meant I had to leave my children with their elder sister. I had to leave the family Thanksgiving early. It was just bad. I was really grieving over it and very angry. I cannot even begin to explain how angry I was over the whole thing. And it really colored Thanksgiving in a negative, horrible way for me. But we did it. We went down there. It was a long, long, long drive all day Friday. The restaurants along the way were super crowded because Thanksgiving. And we got there and we found a hotel room on the beach in North Carolina. I think it was like Surfside and it was one of the little towns, and another one was Orange Beach, and it's different little beach towns. And that was kind of nice because I'm always down for the beach, and I was always down for the beach even then when that was. And the weird thing about the Atlantic is the water is warm in the fall. It can be freezing ass cold, and you're walking on this ice cold sand barefooted, but you can stick your toes in the water and it's tolerable. Jackie, that is the best way if you can do that. So we went to this deliverance ministry, and I'm going to tell you, this was the biggest piece of BS we've ever experienced. We walked in that Saturday morning at 9 a.m. after having breakfast, and I was met by 2 ladies who were probably in their late 30s, early 40s that were dressed to the nines. We're talking makeup, skin tight pants, super high heels, cleavage. I was like, because every church I've been involved with until that point that I knew of talked about modesty. And still to this day, even though I understand modesty is BS, and I don't care that girls wear thong bikinis on the beach, I don't care about any of that. I still don't want to, boobs. I still do not want to be showing my boobs to the general public or my rear end or any of that. So I dress way differently than I did, but I still don't expose much because that's just not my thing. Even though my husband did tell me when I was in the ER of last month, and I was flashing my bits to everybody, and I had no idea. Just because I was in my nightgown, I wasn't wearing panties. So apparently I flashed my crotch at a pile of people. I have no memory of that. I had a 104 temperature. It was all fighty and bitey and crazy. So it did not go well. And I basically told him, look, in the ER, they've seen worse things than my saggy old crotch. So we're just not even going to address that. So I got there and I saw the 2 ladies. I knew the guys that were taking my husband off. We went in there. Oh, no, Will Clinton. I am very modest in that regard, even though I did have a Playboy tryout when I was young and good looking. Yeah, triggered last night. It's one thing to deal with 24/7 healthcare of a husband, but to have your Christian friends be told to shut up and block me on Facebook because I was falling apart. That is evil too. I'm just going to come right out and say it. It's awful. They will do that. The women started questioning me about so many things, and they started telling me stuff. They told me my husband was having an affair, which my husband and I might fight over plumbing problems. There may be squabbles about money and other things occasionally, but we get along for the most part. And when we squabble, we get over it. We always have. Nobody cheats. I can say confidently, he would never be a cheater. He just would not. I think the consensus is that Katie Pleasure would be a good name for KJ's OnlyFans. It would be an excellent name. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. My yarn fund. I'm almost out of yarn, so I got to go buy yarn in the States. They started telling me that he was having an affair. They started questioning me about who Walt was in my life. The only Walt I knew was a dear friend's husband, who was a worship team leader who I loved as a friend. And they were trying to say I had the potential to have an affair with Walt. And I was like, no, not at all. Even if there was attraction there, there would be no affair. That's just not how I roll. I waited a long time after my first divorce to get remarried. And I was only married a very short period of time initially to my much older, much scarier ex. So long story short was they fed me a bunch of stuff that was just nonsense. Now, they did say a couple of things that were right on the money, but I think they were just guesses. When you're shooting arrows, say somebody blindfolds you and says, okay, shoot arrows at this target that's, I don't know, 10 yards away or whatever, and you're there with your blindfold on doing like this with your arrows. Some of the arrows are going to hit the target. It's just the law of averages. So for them to get a few things right about me was not unheard of. No, they didn't get this from playing with a Ouija board, but I swear I think that it had more accurate answers had they done that. The way that their deliverance team ministry worked was that they would pray for you the entire week before you got there, and then they would write down everything they got in prayer about you from God. All I can say is they need to adjust their radar or their antennae because the stuff they got was mostly wrong about me. I still wish I had the paperwork because I did have it right up until I moved here 5 years ago. And after we'd been through it, I just filed it. I hadn't even looked at it. Well, back when I refound it when I was packing, and I wrote about it for NLQ a couple times, it was just shocking what all they found out. So they were trying to lead me through all these deliverance prayers and things. And I was like, nope, that's not my problem. You're wrong about this. You're wrong about this. You're wrong about this. I feel perfectly content how I am. I don't think I need deliverance ministry. You're very wrong. And they let me go after 2.5 hours because I was not cooperative in any way, shape, or form. And I went and rented a wetsuit and went swimming in the ocean while I was waiting for my husband. 9 hours later, they let him go. And until recently, he would not even tell me what had happened during the deliverance ministry. It was the same thing that happened to me. They were nagging the hell out of him about what he needed to pray for. It's quite creepy. Saying, oh, we got to do this, got to do that, you got to renounce this, got to do that. And one of the most harmful things they told me is they said my husband had a demon of rage in him. And if the demon of rage was not delivered, he would kill me eventually. Now, I've seen my husband get really mad. I've seen him get really mad here and break shit. I'm like, that's childish, you dumbass. I usually say that when he does that stuff. I'll tell him, why are you acting like you're 5 or 4 or 3? You're acting like a child. And I have those moments too. And he's able to say that to me too. So when I looked at his list 5 or 6 years ago, it was crazy. They said he liked fishing and Star Wars. Well, let me tell you something. He doesn't like fishing. He never has. He'll fish if he has to, but he doesn't like it. He does not like Star Wars. I can't even get him to watch Star Trek with me or any of that. He hates it. He thinks it's ridiculous. He doesn't like any science fiction. Like when I watch Dune, he's like, how can you watch that? Both Dunes. The first dude was interesting. The second dude, it was like Jason Momoa. So there's that. And when I saw the second one, I was like, damn, Paul is just a whiny emo kid. But my husband doesn't like any of that crap. So all the stuff he had for him was so wrong. And it said that I was having an affair. And I can assure you, between work, home, my kids, everything else, there was no time for an affair. No time at all. Yeah, they did it. They did it well. They did doing well. I think so. Sir Alex Guinness thought it was ridiculous too, and that's why he had himself killed off in the first one. I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. So, not my favorite, but I watched it. My ex-husband was pretty obsessed with it when it came out. I remember that. But so all this stuff was wrong. They nagged the shit out of him. They nagged him to say that he was giving this up and giving that up and all that. And they led him through deliverance ministry. And the next morning we attended the church, and people were giving words of knowledge over me. And I was just like, We should have a call-in thing. Yeah, I have a lot more stories too, but that was my only experience with deliverance ministry. I watched everybody and their brother in my old church go through deliverance ministry and then come away. I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. Like, Tommy, when Roger Daltrey starts screaming he's free and he starts doing cartwheels on the beach, and that sort of enthusiasm. 2 weeks later, right back to that thing they were supposedly delivered from. The ones that it was smoking, they were right back to puffing. The ones that were drinking, right back to drinking. So it was all this crazy, crazy stuff. Greenword, I love it too. It's one of my favorites in some really weird ways. And I love the music, but I've always loved the hoop. And that was another point for me, because there were some points where I started thinking that the thing that I was believing in was total and complete BS. But it was really, really, really believed in our church. And this one couple started offering deliverance ministry. There was a different brand of deliverance ministry. Closet organizing calmed you down. Yes, hang in there, Amy. Keep healing if you can. So those things happened, and I look back at them and I'm like, especially now that I'm dredging them up, and it's just like, why did I ever think that? For a long time after I left, I felt like the black sheep that had been taken out from the flock, put on the other side of the fence. And I'm looking up at everybody frolicking on the top of the mountain, and I'm stuck down there at the bottom where I don't want to be, in a painful, 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 painful place. And that's really where I was for a lot of years. And thankfully, I'm not there anymore. God was good, because I beat my ex in Western Maryland, and he was granted a divorce, no fault against me. He didn't expect me to fight him. Greenworm, I'm familiar with that crap. Seeing so many people going through all kinds of divorces. And that was one thing about the church too. The divorce rate was pretty high compared to regular. Oh, not granted. That's awesome. That is awesome that they saw through his BS. And the thing is, when you go to leave these high demand religious organizations and you don't take your spouse with you, and we were lucky to get out together, the fallout is terrible. They will enlist fellow church members, former friends, to lie about you in court. So you lose custody of your children, you lose any access to the marital funding, any of that. Oh, you brought to West Virginia and filed on him. I'm not familiar with what the laws in West Virginia say about that, but I'm hoping you got an equitable split. It took 5 years, and I was granted lifetime immunity. Go! That's the way to be. That is it. My ex was so awful that I waived immunity. I waived alimony and child support. I just waived it all because I knew I was never going to get a dime out of him. The court still ordered child support, and I've never collected a dime from him in that. Not one thin dime to this day. But it was worth it to keep him out of my business because when we moved to Germany, he tried to prevent me from taking my child with me to Germany. The judge in Louisiana said, "Are you current with your child support?" And he started going, blah, 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 And I said, "No, he is not current with his child support." And they ruled he didn't have any more parental rights. In North Carolina, it is legal to marry your first cousin. I saw that in a pamphlet they produced. Java, I'm not real surprised. I've heard some things about some of the states are allowing stuff like that. I saw something the other day about, I don't remember if it was Louisiana or Texas, Mississippi. One of those states has no minimum marriage. Let them send your family a registered letter and you could get married, no problem. He couldn't look at me when I developed angioedema. Oh, Greenworm, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to throw this out there too. It was Tennessee, Java Man, but I think Louisiana has similar laws. It's not uncommon, even in the secular world, for when you develop some kind of ailment, to get booted. Your husband runs off and files for divorce. I was reading on Reddit the other day. This man had said that his wife had gotten breast cancer and all her hair had fallen out. And he said, "I did not sign up for any of this. She's not healthy and young and vibrant like she was when I married her. She's sick. She's bald. So I want a divorce. Would I be a dick to divorce her while she has breast cancer?" And everybody was like, yes. I think the legal age should be 18, no exceptions. If you aren't old enough to sign a contract, you aren't old enough to get married. Java Man, I will agree with you on that one. If you're not old enough to be held legally responsible or fight for your country or vote, you should have any business getting married. And that's me. I got married at 16 the first time because I thought I was in love. And that wore off in a hurry. Right. Usually, if you have to ask that, you are. Not always. Sometimes there are people that post on there that, am I the a-hole? And it's clear they're not, but it's clear they're being manipulated and gaslit by somebody who actually is the a-hole instead. It's always an interesting column I always read. I read that and Am I the Devil? They take the worst of them and highlight them. And you're reading those things, oh my God. And so now you know about deliverance ministry as it was practiced with the people that I went to church with. Hey, Jeanette. The people that I went to church with practiced various different kinds, but it was all the same thing. Confess, and tell your sins. I said before, with yoga, I really went through the ringer with my old church, claiming that yoga was completely demonic and trying to make me repent from ever doing yoga, and that just stuck in my craw. There were things that happened along the way that took me out of it. Yoga was the first thread being pulled, the very first thread being pulled. The deliverance ministry made that gap a little wider. What happened after I had a miscarriage and had to have a pile of DNCs followed by a hysterectomy? That was like the third thing that took it from just a little tiny trickle of a river to a wide river after they started with a little crack in the seams with yoga. And what happened the day I left was just the end of it, the very hard, cold end. So I was very surprised when I joined the church in Tamarindo, and after 3 years experienced something very similar where I was told to shut up and stop being a problem because I requested that they not allow fuzzy dogs in the building because my mast cell makes me horribly allergic to fuzzy dog hair, and not all dog hair, just the fuzzy stuff. Dogs don't belong in church unless you're having a blessing of the animals. If you're having a blessing of animals, something like that, I stay away because I know now that I will react to certain things. So I just stay away. But to side with a visitor, with an emotional support animal over a long time member that was doing a lot of stuff and helping out with every ministry was the same sort of thing as my old church. It was just bullshit. I do find the Kundalini and third eye stuff not cool. I have a friend that got into that. Green worm, there's all kinds of stuff out there. I try not to judge if somebody's getting some kind of benefit from it, even though I don't like it. I try to just let them have that stuff now. Unless it's fundamentalism and they're doing stuff like jumping up and down trying to play with angels. That's pretty out there. My personal favorite is the person with their emotional support peacock. Java Man, mine too. Tried to take it on a plane. She got odd. It happens. It happens. It just happens. And once church gets odd, I'm gone. Once they start saying and doing things that fit a CULT, I'm gone. Right now, I'm not going to church because COVID rates won't go down here. They're just flat for the time being at 1,000 cases a day. This is a small country with only 3 million people. I think that's too high. For me, that's too high. So I'm here every Sunday. I'll probably be here this Sunday. Well, this Sunday is Easter. If I look at the rates and they're way, way down, I might go for Easter. Because I do miss the community aspect of it, even though I've had some bad experiences with some of the community at this particular church my husband likes. I think I just have to go say, bless your heart, and stay away from the ones that I know are problematic. Okay, you guys, I need to go. It looks like it's going to rain out there today, and I'm trying to do laundry because we have water. Praise Jesus! We have water today. All week we've had water because it's Semana Santa, Easter week, and they let us have water this week instead of putting us on water restrictions until the aquifer fills up from the rain. Between the COVID and triggers, I am fine with a friend's church near Memphis. Yep. Janine, catch up on rewind. Okay, you guys. Love you. Don't let anybody trigger you too bad. If you start feeling like you're triggered, just back off and take a day just for you.